Welcome to Watermark's Church Leadership Podcast, a conversation with church leaders for church leaders. And I'm your host, John McGee. Hey friends, today I want to play for you one of the sessions we had at our Church Leaders Conference, and our speaker was Grant Skeldon. Grant was here at Watermark years ago. He now is in Nashville. He works with Think, with Gabe Lyons, and does a great job just serving and connecting young leaders. And his topic was kind of 7 ways to develop young leaders, and it was really fantastic. I'm excited for you to listen to it. One of the things that's cut from the tape is when I introduced him, I said, generally when we have this conversation, we open up our Bibles to 2 Timothy 2:2, and we just kind of yell at the audience, and everyone leaves really inspired. They just don't know what to do. And, I said, hey, Grant's going to give you a framework. So Grant got up. It was so funny. The first thing he said is, open up your Bibles to 2 Timothy 2:2, and it was really, really well played, and then kind of went into it. So I'm excited for you to listen to this talk, but a couple things. One, we gave away a little handout with Grant's 7 points, and we'll link to that in the show notes, so you can see Grant's points. And then also there is space for you to write down names of people that you really can champion. And so here's what I'm doing personally with this, and you could do this with your teams, you could do this with your staff. I sent an email to some of my friends, and we're going to meet 2 times. And the first time we're going to meet is we're going to reflect back on this talk, and we're going to talk about kind of our own journeys. What was it that people did for us as we reflect back, and think, were there things that Grant talked about that people did for us, and share that so we can just kind of look for common themes and look to see what would that actually look like in action. So we're going to do that, and then we'll talk about some of the people we think we might champion. And then we're going to come back a second time and with some of our names and share some of the things that we think we're going to do with and for them. And then also just pray. And that wasn't one of the things that Grant talked about, but always when you're thinking about championing young leaders, you can just pray for them. And when I think about people that I know that have had really, substantial ministries or run, always there's someone behind them who's been praying for them. So don't forget that step. So friends, without any further ado, I'm really excited for you to listen to this talk. Again, think about ways you can put it into action or action it with your teams or your staff. And then the episode that will come out 2 weeks later is some young leaders reflecting back on this talk. It was a panel that we had at CLC, and then also some additional thoughts from them. So please enjoy this episode.
Hey, I just want to ask you a question. I want you to take like 10 seconds, 15 seconds each to turn to one person and answer the question, who could you say this about, where you could say, I would not be who I am today, and I would not be where I am today if it weren't for this person in my life. I'm hoping everyone has someone who's like, they were most contributing to my faith, my character, my career, my calling. But just 10 seconds each, that's 20 seconds if you do the math. So 1 to 1, turn to your neighbor, who is that for you? Hey, so when it comes to the next generation, it's always a gamble when I give people the chance to do it. But I want y'all to think about someone as we're talking today, because I think when it comes to the next generation, let's just get a quick, I'm a very interactive speaker, so y'all can totally shout back, talk, ask questions maybe even, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to talk to you and talk with you guys. Like, any parents of the next generation in here, just raise your hands. Raise your hand high. Quick question on that. How's that going for you guys? It's always laughter, and I just feel like with the next generation, we might be focused on the wrong thing. In fact, I'm convinced we're definitely asking the wrong question when it comes to the next generation. Tell me if you guys hear these murmurs, you hear this just often in the church today, things like, young people are leaving the church. Anyone actively hearing that pretty regularly? They're deconstructing. They're too influenced by the world. They're not getting married. What in the world? Or they're job hopping, or they're church hopping. Anyone? Or some of you guys who are parents of the next generation, you guys even feel this. They're crippled by debt. I think that we're so focused on what's wrong, and what I want to do today is focus on not just what's wrong with the next generation, but actually what's working. Like, what is God doing in young people that are chasing after the Lord, that are humble, that are hungry, that honor those that have gone before them. Because instead of always asking, why are they leaving the church, I've kind of been on this 2-year journey of qualitative research through Think. I get the privilege to really kind of give a space for high-capacity young Christian leaders in the church, but especially also in culture, who don't often get places to take their cape off. They live on the road often, they speak, they are musicians, pro athletes, Olympic athletes, authors, online influencers, whatever it may be, but also a ton of young pastors, church planners that are doing amazing work, and they're seeing an increase with young people. But instead of just seeing, hey, what's wrong or why are they leaving, I've started thinking, why are some leading? Like, what made these guys different than everybody else? What is it about them? Because we often ask, why are they leaving? Sometimes we ask the question, why are young people staying? But I don't think any of us got into ministry, like went to seminary potentially, went and took a job that generally isn't marked by making a lot of money. That's not generally what ministry is known for. And did all this work. And shepherding is not easy. We talked about leading through the election. That's not like my dream to do something like that. I don't think any of us got into it so that we can just cross our fingers and hope that people stay in church. Though it's good, it's better than why are they leaving. I want to ask, why are some leading, and why did, instead of leaving the church, they are making disciples, impacting their culture, impacting their work, it impacts their family. Like, what are the common factors that happen? And so if we could identify those things and then normalize those things, then these people aren't anomalies or unicorns. It can just be what Christians do, is some of these practices. And so I've got about a couple things that I just like to share that I've found, these keep happening in a lot of these young leaders' story. Whether they are an athlete, a speaker, an author, a nonprofit leader, a ministry leader, there's some common things. One is they often have a pivotal guide in their life. You could use a lot of different language on what that pivotal guide is. I would say it's someone who invites you to accompany and shadow them in their life or their work. I don't know if any of y'all are into movies here, but there's a book that's influenced a lot of storytelling in movies called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. I'm not recommending this book. I've never read this book, honestly. I have heard it summarized into this concept of what's called the hero's journey. If you like Star Wars, it heavily influenced that. If you like Disney movies, it heavily influenced that, of like a young person with angst that wants to go change the world, but it's not until they meet an older mentor. George Lucas said that this book was his Yoda in writing Star Wars. So almost every time it's the young person with angst, and it doesn't really change until they get the pivotal guide. Think about some of the movies we love today, whether it's Frodo, Harry Potter, Lion King, The Matrix. They all start with this, like something's missing. And I would say the story does not begin in those young people's lives. And it would never even become a story if it weren't for the older person showing up. That's you. And so I know older people don't like being called older people. And I want to honor the older generation sincerely. They've messed me up in all the right ways. And so I would say it's not, and again, I want to honor the older generation. No one likes being called old, which, by the way, millennials, we're old, by the way, at this point. Like, can we be old with y'all? Can we make fun of the next generation? Y'all made fun of us for a straight 20 years for participation trophies and for skinny jeans, and y'all gave us the participation trophies. Like, I never do the math. If I was 6 years old and I could go back, I would have told all my friends, do not take these. Like, they will hold this against us. But we didn't know. Y'all could have given us Capri Sun. You could have given us some oranges. You could have given us Fun Dip. But you gave us trophies and held it against us. But all that to say, we're getting old now. So until they get chronologically superior people like us in their lives, they don't meet the big bad, they don't meet the villains, they're not even on the radar of these guys, but eventually they go from these young people that have a dream to finally becoming these amazing heroes. But if you take out the older leader, I mean, Frodo puts on that ring. If it's not for Gandalf, those little figures come after him, he dies. It saves us a lot of time. It's just done. We don't have to watch the movie. That's it, the end. If it wasn't for Mickey, Rocky never becomes a good fighter, which, by the way, I don't think he's ever really becomes that good of a fighter. His only gift is he's really good at getting punched in the face better than you. Like, that's his main thing. Luke Skywalker is going out there looking at the moon just all the time, kicking the dirt. Like, it's not until Obi takes him to the next level. I think the funniest one, we love Simba and Mufasa and Lion King. That is a story of a guy who's rejecting all responsibilities and letting his house burn and his family enslaved and there's no food. It's not until Rafiki shows up and says like, hey, come on, I know who you are. And so, I mean, the worst is Harry Potter, man. He'd just be living in that closet still to this day with that awful family, but they become this. And so I would call these linchpin leaders. These are people, you take the older person, the chronologically superior person out of their story, and it all unravels. It actually probably never happens. In almost every high-capacity young leader I know, in their teenage years, maybe even younger, or early 20s, they have something like that. And I'm at this point convinced that we don't have a next-gen problem, we have a discipleship problem. And until we normalize discipleship, we're just going to keep seeing immaturity in the next generation. And how would they do it? It's the blind leading the blind. It's seventh graders asking other seventh graders for dating advice. If I'm talking to young people, I'm like, y'all are Lord of the Flies. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, this was required reading, or I'm getting old. Because you're getting old whenever you have to say things like, back when I was your age, we had to read this book called Lord of the Flies. So here's what's important. I don't want to spend too much on discipleship right here because I'm going to focus on the breakout. But I do think we need to distinguish mentors and disciple makers because I do think they're different. Both are very powerful. But I would say mentorship is adding something to your calendar and discipleship is including someone in your calendar. And that's important because a lot of us feel that we're too busy and we're not even giving enough time to God, ourselves, or our family. How could we go and disciple somebody else's kid? But again, that's where mentorship is like, let me see if I can find some time, and I barely have any left for myself or the other things I need to prioritize. While discipleship is, I'm busy, you have time as a young single, so come join us. Or you have more time than me, no matter what season of life. If you can move your life around mine, just like Jesus did not move his life around the disciples moved their life around him. And the more they just followed him, the more they had conversations and they learned. We see this in Paul's writing in 1 Thessalonians. Because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. I think that's pretty powerful for Paul to say because Paul went through great lengths to share the gospel. And for him to say, and I didn't just share that with you, I also shared my life as well. I do think this is a generation that's kind of, we've heard that, but seen it, I don't know if they have. I often say they are saturated with content and they are starved of connection. And so I think what can really set us apart when the world is spending billions and so much money to try to reach them with more content, and we could be different, that we're like, hey, I actually want to connect with you. Discipleship is caught, not taught, as we've all heard. And so it could sound, instead of there's come and meet with me, mentorship, there's discipleship, come and follow me. Those, I think, are two powerful things. And I'd ask, who are you saying that to? You cannot say this to everyone, but I do think everyone can say this to someone. And who is that someone for you that you are saying, come and meet with me or come and follow me? But unfortunately, often in the church, we limit ourselves to something that's important, but it is limiting if we only do this, which isn't come and meet with me or come and follow me. It's just come and listen to me. Next week, y'all, we got this brand new series. I don't know why we all talk the same. It's like, yo, next week we got this brand new series. You guys don't want to miss it. And we always do that with our hands. I don't know who taught us or started that, but I do it, especially when it's the video on TikTok or Instagram. It's like we got this like narrator voice. It's almost like pilots. I don't know who taught them. They have to talk the way they talk, but it's always like, we just landed in Dallas-Fort Worth. It's 24. They talk like run-on sentences. We do that a lot, and we're always sending them, come and listen to me, come and listen to me, come and listen to me. Bring your friends to come and listen to me. And I'm telling you, I don't think the next generation is leaving because we've asked them to do too much. I think we've asked them to do far too little. And we're losing some of our best to the world. It's like, come on, let's go. And I think the church is, hey, come and follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. We're going to go change the world. I want to show also the limitation of this. I asked Pastor John to give me a volunteer. Noah, where are you at? And Braun, actually, if I can bring you up too. I want to bring both of you guys up. There's a mic right here. They do not know what I'm going to ask them. Can y'all give it up for these guys? They have no clue. Okay, we're talking about come and listen to me. A simple question is, one, were you guys at church like 6 weeks ago?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Maybe.
maybe, probably.
Yeah.
It's really easy then, because you were there and you literally get paid by this place, is what was the sermon about and what was your favorite part? And then what have you applied since?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have Gary Boschain come up and...
So
You don't even know if you were there.
there was a part where, well, it's a good bet, okay? TA brought out these boxes.
6 weeks ago.
And he put boxes inside of boxes, tubs. It was amazing, life-changing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I remember too.
And one just last question, how have you applied that in the last 6 weeks?
So we have bins like that at our home, and
We have so many bins.
and it just goes away. So it's fantastic.
That's good. Can you guys give it up for this? This is amazing. I'm moved. Now, it's not because they don't care about this church. It's not because clearly they're giving their life to ministry. It's how education and retention works. The learning pyramid in the education world has actually shown us that we only have a 5% retention rate when it comes to hearing a lecture. We have a 10% retention rate with reading. We then go up to, when it's audio and visual, this is why I like to do slides, because it goes to a 30% retention rate, 20%, and then 30% for demonstration. Like, some of y'all might not ever remember this message, but you'll remember, oh yeah, you're the guy who brought up those two guys and like totally embarrassed them, and they didn't know, the one thing they remember was tubs. That demonstration, these things help us remember it a little bit more, but all of this is passive learning. It doesn't require our people to do anything, and it really runs the risk of creating consumer Christianity, because they just show up, and it's like a transaction we have. We'll do everything, you show up, and then you leave and show up next week and bring your friends. But active learning is when you start to go into discussion groups and small groups where it jumps up to an 50% retention rate, practiced by doing. This is why discipleship is so important, and empowering them to continue to go on, and then teaching others. This is empowering our people to learn something when you have to give it to someone else. There's nothing like that, and the retention rate is huge. I do want to say I do not believe the staff of the church is responsible to disciple everyone in the church. In an ideal world, the staff is doing this, building up the body and equipping the saints, the top of the pyramid, to equip the church to do the rest. But I do want to go to this. I mean, in y'all's opinion, where do you feel like Jesus operated the most? The top or the bottom? And where do you feel like the American church operates the most? And so, again, I do believe Jesus did all these, but I think we're fighting with one hand tied behind our back until we normalize discipleship, until we empower our people to do this. And I think this generation is actually hungry for the Great Commission to actually go and make disciples. The next one, when it comes to what is a common factor, is I would say it's prophetic affirmation. Is they have a person who noticed and verbalized a gift in them. Like they saw it, they verbalized it, and it stuck with them. It even maybe pushed them to go pursue that more. In those stories, or actually in the hero's journey, they call this the mentor and the talisman. It's like a moment where the mentor kind of gives them a gift, whether maybe here's a tool, or here's a sword, or here's something about you didn't realize. In those movies, it's Rafiki, hey, I know who you are, you're Mufasa's boy. Or Gandalf, there's a time when Frodo said, I wish I never got this ring. And he says, you were meant to have the ring, you have the force, you are the one, our favorite one, you're a wizard, Harry. Like, these are moments like speak identity and confidence into the young person, like this is who you are, and I think this is what you're called to do. It could be as simple as these 4 letters. We've maybe heard them before, I see in you. I think this is one of the easiest, cheapest, when the world's spending billions, this is one of the cheapest, easiest things we can do for the next generation, and anyone can do it. Just pausing for a moment and say, hey, I see this in you. And we have no idea how powerful it is. And here's the irony is, how many of y'all have a moment you can remember when someone saw a gift in you still today, and it was maybe 20 years ago? Anyone? And these guys and many of us can't remember a sermon from 6 weeks ago. And some of y'all don't lie. Y'all prepared a sermon, preached a sermon, and y'all had to think about it for a second. Like, I'm not saying that those things aren't valuable at all. And I want to make sure to say this. I don't want us to confuse retention with transformation. That's not the same thing. Many of us, including myself, got saved at a place where there was a lecture and there was a sermon, and I would call to God. And even during that song on Is Anyone Worthy, just the scripture and the reading of it, there's a tuning of the heart to God. So I'm not trying to throw out one and say, now we do that so often in the church and throw the pendulum to the other direction, and then we're going to come back to this. And so it's just, I don't want to fight with one hand tied behind our back. I think I see in you is saying, hey, here's a gifting that I see it's something you're good at. And sometimes people get that noticed by an older person, and they pursue it even more because it gets noticed. Maybe it's character, a conviction that they live by, or maybe it's just an area that they are starting to focus on and growing in. But when it gets noticed, there's the fuel that goes towards that. These could sound like, hey, you're a leader. Notice how people follow you. I can't tell you how many times some of these young leaders say, when I was like 13 years old or I was 20 years old, someone came to me and just noticed and told me, you're a leader. I sense leadership in you. And that then started to be a domino effect of them to continue to lead. Hey, has anyone told you how great of a communicator you are? Everyone is so engaged. Or, hey, the sincerity of your faith is contagious in everyone around you. When everyone left early, you stayed, and I'm so proud of you. Like, I noticed that. These are all I see in you statements. I just want to quickly share this. Is we see this with Paul towards Timothy, where he says, the next gen verse, everyone, let no one look down on you because you are young. Set the believers an example in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity. This verse then goes just 2 verses down. For this being like the next gen verse, which we often think, as young people, I used to think, oh, this is the one we throw in the face of older people, like, yeah, don't look down on me because I'm young. I never read the rest of it, and I now call this the Voldemort verse for us young people. Like, you don't want older people to hold you to the standard of this. But instead, set the believers an example in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity. And then on next verse, until I come, devote yourself to the public reading of Scripture, to teaching, and to exhortation. And this is what's important to me is 2 verses from the next gen verse says, do not neglect the gift you have, which was given to you by the prophecy and the counsel of elders who laid their hands on you. And prophecy can be a scary word for people. The good thing is it's in the Bible. And the other thing is it could be as simple as I see in you. Not I'm telling you the future, not that I am a prophet, but I see this in you. And again, this idea of do not neglect the gifts you have. There are so many young people, I know each one of y'all got to know some young person who's dying to know what they're called to in this life. They're dying to know the purpose. In fact, I would say I'm more concerned not with the prosperity gospel from older generations. I'm concerned with the purpose gospel for this generation, to try to use God as a stepping stone to their purpose, because there's I want to know God's calling on my life, almost more than knowing the actual caller. And then I'm actually concerned mostly of the platform gospel, and then I want to build a platform on whatever that calling is. But this is saying don't neglect the gift you have, which was identified by us older people. And again, it comes up. We often know the verse, fan into flame the gift of God, which is given to you. It says, for this reason I remind you, fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands. And so I see in you and noticing, and then even if you would go further and say, can I just pray over that gift? We're seeing this twice where Paul does this for a young person and then tells them now pursue it and fan into flame and progress in it. John Maxwell says this quote I like where he said, silent gratitude is worthless. And I just think there's a lot of things we see, even in each other, our own generations, that we admire about each other. We notice about each other. We're impressed or encouraged or just like, man, that moves me to see this. And we never say it. And ironically, we don't say a lot of these things that could be powerful until people are dead. That's when we finally let them know. And I would just say, what is it that you could say to a young person that you've noticed in their gifting, their character, or their growth that could impact their life today? The third one is contagious culture. They are pushed into a culture that just has, I would say a contagious culture it's an organization or community with a great culture and high standards. It's those places that have their vision on the wall, their words, their phrases. It's almost, the key word of culture is cult. So I'm not saying that they need to be a cult, but there's some of those places y'all ever go to and it's like, I sent my kid to be a staffer at a camp and they came back they're saying certain phrases. They're correcting me and saying, no, it's not about you, Mom. Like, it's like this, that's what they get. There's a Pine Cove, actually. That's one of the big ones, is it's not about you. And I have seen so many leaders, whether it's going to Pine Cove, whether it's going to the mission field with a missional organization, whether it's going to the military or whatever or it's a church that has high standards. I learned this language from the culture of Watermark. It's like a pebble in their shoe that carries with them. So then they don't just apply it there. Here, let me show you a way to do it and see it in maybe a different way. Imagine you're a manager of a restaurant and you've got 3 young people who are applying. They all 3 have 2 years of experience. That's the only experience they have in work at a restaurant. One has worked at Long John Silver's. You guys go there lately? One is going to Arby's. I always think that's the funniest one. Were you thinking Arby's? I've literally never had someone say that to me in my entire life. Hey, we're thinking about going to eat. Are you thinking Arby's? No. I'm like, no one's ever said that, ever, in my life. I think they're trying to get us to say that to each other. And then one has 2 years of experience at Chick-fil-A. Without talking to any of them, who are you inclined to hire? Because of their culture, because they have these standards. If they've worked there for 2 years, there's a culture that they've adhered to that's going to be amazing. There's a mentor of mine, Tim Ketchum, who says, what you count and what you celebrate, it creates your culture. And so you want to pay attention to what are we counting? What are we celebrating? And are we have verbiage for that, language for that? That sets a higher standard. You start a generation that feels alone and loneliness, give them culture and the tradition, and they part of a family, a community. They want something to belong to, something to fight for, someone to build with. This gives them some of that. The next one is just a question for you guys is, did you ever have a season where you joined an environment or culture that significantly raised your standards and level of excellence? I think for the more they have experiences in those type of places, the greater the leader often they become. The next one I will call ridiculous responsibility. I think almost everyone in this room is going to have something like this. This is people or a person who give you huge responsibilities that force you to mature and step up. There's a men's ministry leader back in the day named Ed Cole who says this line, maturity doesn't come with age, it comes with acceptance of responsibility. So some of you guys have maybe met younger people, you're like, man, they're like an old soul, or they're like super mature for their age. Not every time, but most of the time I found it's because they had big responsibilities at a young age, whether it's through problems or intentionality. They got thrust into taking care of their family, or thrust into working early, or thrust into just some responsibility at church. Can we be honest, like how many of y'all have a situation where you're like, I can remember just getting thrust into the position I'm in, and they're like, hey, just figure it out. Like, it's not even like, it wasn't this thing like, we've been intentionally training you and equipping you, waiting for this moment and preparing you, and here it is, you knew it was coming for 2 years. It's like, you got a text last night, and it's like, tomorrow you've got to do this. Like, I'm sorry, it just is the way it is, just figure it out. Or it's like, hey, like in 10 minutes, like I need you here. Now the church, that's often the stories I'm hearing from pastors is that, but regardless, it thrusts them into big responsibilities, and these responsibilities make you allocate your time differently. You're like, hey, I'm in a season, I can't hang out late tonight because I gotta be early in the morning here, or I've got to go to bed early, I gotta have the energy for this, or maybe it makes you ask questions, it makes you seek mentors, it makes you read more and take risks. You're like, I've gotta read, I gotta learn. It sobers you up, and often especially makes you pray to God, God, will you give me wisdom? You said you'd give wisdom if we would ask, and I need wisdom to do this well. The line you've had a ridiculous responsibility is if you have a person who comes to mind you could talk to today, and you could say, hey, back in the day, you let me do this, and I just want to say, what in the world were you thinking? Like, what were you thinking letting me do that at that age? And I want to differentiate. There is a difference between crushing someone and stretching someone. I do see sometimes where it's like, oh, just figure it out. And it's like, no one taught me. That's not the posture. It's got to be like, hey, it is going to be hard. I can't do the work for you. I'm in the wings if you need me. It's got to be, I'm still there to help. It's not straight, like, it's crushing you. So a question for you, did anyone ever give you a huge responsibility that you didn't deserve, but it forced you to mature and step up? Another one is crucial feedback. This is someone who gives you hard but helpful feedback that actually changes you. This could be a timely insight, like, hey, can I speak into this in your life? And I just want to tell you, and it changes the trajectory of like a character trait of them, a goal and priority for them. But also I am finding a lot of people are saying it wasn't maybe advice, it was like a question. I just got asked like what I'll call a compass question. It created something in me where I started filtering my life through this question. For me, I heard a question from a mentor, and he said, do you want to impress Christians, Grant, or do you want to look like Jesus? Because you gotta figure that out. In your generation, it seems like often they want to impress Christians. I don't know if they really want to look like Jesus. And they actually could go impress Christians and never look like Jesus. And that was like the best filter question about 10 years ago for me. It totally changed my priorities. I'm like, I read the Gospels in a different way. I was like, what did Jesus care about that Christian leaders in my age don't care about at all? And then what are things that Jesus didn't care about at all? Like crowds, he literally chunked the deuce to 5,000. That would have been the big win in today. If only Jesus was a better leader, he would have stayed around for the 5,000, built a conference, built a huge thing. But it was like, whoa, he left the 5,000 for 12? It's showing me, it's not that the 5,000 is bad. It's like, this is important, but also you've got to be doing the 12. You've got to also be making disciples. And that put me on a different journey. Another one is timely connections. This is someone who introduces you to monumental figures in your career. Just want to show this. For young people, we don't always have connections, so they have passion without the ability to pursue and place them in a place. But for older people, chronologically superior people, they have, this is the natural progression of networks. You got your high school friends, your church friends, your work friends, and then your college friends. Often that's where young adults are. But as you get older, you might get married and you have some of your spouse's friends. You might move to a new city. You might get a new job. You might join a new church. And this continues as you have kids and you're in their network. And we're not trying to be networkers, but we start meeting people and it just continues to go. And I just want to remind you that for young people, especially right out of college, they don't have all these connections. They have a desire in their heart to serve, to go and do something, but they have no way to get there. And there's often a time I found for these young leaders, like someone saw what I was pursuing and was like, I've got to introduce you to this guy. I've got to introduce you to this lady who's doing exactly that, or she's been in that exact season. And so I would say, yeah, who is it that you could connect someone to, because you know what they're called to do, and connect them to someone else as well. And then last one is a slingshot moment. This one does not happen that often, but for those it does happen, it's massive. This is someone who encourages you to take your vision to the next level and then puts their neck on the line for your lack of experience, resources, so you can accomplish the major initiative. So it'll look like this. They are faithful. They've got traction. They're moving. They're going. And it's incrementally starting to impact more people. But then someone older comes to them and says, hey, I see you doing this. Have you ever thought about doing, and it's like this? And you're like, yeah, I'd love to do that. Of course, who wouldn't? I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the connections to do that. I don't have the experience to do that. There's no way I could ever accomplish that. One day I would get there, maybe in like a decade, but that slingshot moment, that person puts their neck on the line for them, says, don't worry about any of the money or the experience or the connections, I got you. And without them, they would talk themselves out of it, because that person didn't show up and slingshot them into that moment. They'd be like, again, I'd love to do it, I just can't. And so the loss of potential of all the people that could have impacted. And I just want to ask you guys, did anyone ever encourage you to take your vision to the next level and put their neck on the line for your lack of experiences or resources? For me, I have invited a couple of friends here who, man, I grew up here. I met my wife here. My brother came to Christ here. And you guys can take this off now. I just want to thank you guys for being friends to me, investing in me, believing in me, connecting me. I would not be who I am today without you, and I would not be where I am today with many of you guys. There's mentors of mine, disciple makers of mine, just people who were like the biggest cheerleaders of me when I was doing ministry in my early 20s here. And I just want to end with this question of, for y'all, what person has helped impact you today, the most today? I know you know who that is because we talked about it. And then who's someone you could be that for as well? I know you can't do this for everyone. We can do it for someone. And one challenge is that person that helped you become who you are today and where you are today. I would encourage you, text them, like today. Remind them, hey, I was thinking about you and how you did this for me when I was young. I just want to say thank you. Like, I think of the story with the 10 lepers, and that's one that actually came back. I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone say, hey, I did go text them, and it was amazing just to reconnect and just encourage them. We never know what season they're in, but there's nothing like when someone comes back and says, like, thank you. You have no idea what that meant to me. And so thank you guys, and let's go make disciples.
Well, friends, again, thank you so much for listening. As always, if you have questions, if you have comments, or other ways we can serve you, you can always reach us at clp@watermark.org. That's clp@watermark.org. We'll talk to you again next time.